What is one basic economic belief that people have that is completely wrong? Like one of the most pervasive economic beliefs.
One of the biggest ones is we're already discussing, which is inflation. Because the vast majority of people think inflation is prices going up. That's what they think inflation is. That's not inflation. Inflation is the money supply expanding, the supply of credit expanding. That's what's being inflated. The word inflate literally means expand. That's the root of the word. But the government did a very good job in recent years of confusing the public as to what inflation means so that they can blame inflation on the people that raise prices. Government never accepts responsibility for creating inflation. They blame the greedy businessman who raised prices. They're blaming Putin. Putin was, raising prices. It's the government that expands the money supply. That's the inflation. As a result, people have to raise their prices. Workers have to, get more wages because everything costs more. But the government gets the ball rolling. So people don't understand. If people knew what inflation was, then they would know the cause. Because it's the government that's expanding our money supply.
Do you think AI, though, could be deflationary, and this could bring the cost of a lot of things down?
Well, again, AI doesn't contract the money supply. But is AI something that would result in lower prices? Of course, because AI, used properly, makes people and businesses more productive. And when you're more productive, your costs go down. And when your costs go down, you can charge less. Prices come down. I mean, capitalism is a force to lower prices. That's what capitalism does. It creates abundance out of scarcity. You have more stuff. And the more stuff there is, the less expensive the stuff becomes, right? So the natural tendency is for prices to go down. Now, government steps up and creates inflation and destroys the value of the money. And that makes prices go up. It's the inflation. But, if it wasn't for capitalism, prices would be going up even more. But a lot of people don't realize that. Let's say prices go up by 2%. But if the government hadn't created inflation, they would have gone down by 2%. That's 4% really inflation because I got robbed of the 2% price cut, and now I have to pay 2% more. So I'm paying 4% more than I otherwise would have paid had the government not created the inflation. Because sometimes inflation doesn't just cause prices to rise, it prevents prices from falling. Now, the government will try to tell us, well, we have to do that because falling prices are bad. We can't have falling prices. Why not? What's wrong with falling prices? Everybody wants lower prices. Everybody wants stuff to be cheaper.
Now, the argument is falling prices create further falling prices because if even a small subset of people just wait, prices fall even further, which causes more people to slightly wait, even if it's just an extra month or two.
But they're not going to wait. I mean, if you're hungry, are you going to eat now? Or if you think the hamburger is going to be cheaper next month, are you going to wait? Or are you just going to buy it?
I think with stuff like food, not necessarily, but I think with stuff like cars or houses or major purchases.
All right,
I think
you need a new car.
Yeah.
The car you got now doesn't really work. You got to get to work. You got to take your kids to school. Are you going to get the car when you need it? Or you say, if I wait a month and maybe if we walk or ride our bikes for the next month, I could get that car for $100 cheaper. Are you going to wait?
I just think even a few percent of people do. Just a few percent.
No. There's a time value, present value.
Correct.
Having something now is worth more than having it later.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if I thought something was going to be 1 or 2 or 3% cheaper a year from now, I'm not going to wait a year. I'm not going to go without food or gas or, if my air conditioner breaks down, I'm not going to think, gee, if I wait a year and sweat it out, I might be able to get the air conditioning. No, I'm going to buy it. But you know what I'm going to hope? That if I ever need another air conditioning, I'm going to hope the price is lower.
I'll give you an example that I see all the time, and it's with the stock market. When stocks fall, people think, oh, I'm just going to wait because it'll be even cheaper.
Because that's a different thing. You're trying to make an investment. So it doesn't, if I buy a stock next week That's okay. I can wait. It's not a consumer good. Consumer goods, people buy it when they need it. Now, it is true that sometimes people don't buy something and they wait for a lower price, but that's because they can't afford it. And I have all kinds of examples. I remember the first time that I went into a store. I think maybe it was like a Best Buy or something, and I saw a high-def TV for the first time in my life. Now, you're so young, every TV you've ever seen is HD. But I went in and I saw the first HD TV, and I was amazed that at the picture. To me, I was like, this is like looking through a window, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I obviously would have liked to have bought that TV, but it was like $10,000, which even back then, you could buy a car for $10,000. So as much as I liked it, I didn't want to buy it because it was too expensive. So I had to wait for them to be able to make these TVs cheap enough so that I could afford it. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if that TV, that was the cheapest, HD TV, and the price had gone up, right? Same thing, look, with cell phones. When cell phones first came out, I mean, you don't remember but most people didn't buy cell phones when they first came out. They were way too expensive. Not only were they expensive to buy, they were expensive to use. In fact, when I first got my cell phone, I barely used it. And if somebody called me and said, I can't talk, I'm on my cell. Because I would wait for the weekends or the nighttime when the rates went down.
Yeah.
But the reason that everybody has cell phones now is because they got cheaper, right? When prices go down, more people buy things, not less people, more, and so prices falling are a good thing.
And really quick, I gotta say, something that Jack and I have been trying to do a lot more lately is just to remove the annoyances that quietly waste time and energy, because those things add up fast. The thing is, we're always on the go, we're always trying to get to the next thing, so having a cleaner setup and a little more control in your day really goes a long way, and that is exactly why we absolutely love MagBack. The MagBack Elite case is so much more than just a case. It has the finger loop for a secure grip, side grips that feel great, a pinky pillow for comfort, and a built-in kickstand when you need it.
That is all built to make everyday use way better. And it also just comes with a screen protector, so that's one less thing that you have to worry about.
Then they also have their MagBack 3-in-1 home multi-charger that keeps everything clean and ready to go. You drop your phone, AirPods, and Apple Watch on it at night, and by morning, everything is charged in one place. What I really like about this is that it's not just like a mess of wires that looks awful. I don't have to try to plug and play and which one does what. It's all in one place, and it looks incredibly clean, and it just makes it easy.
I kid you not, Graham and I are genuinely huge fans of MagBack. I use their wallet, I use their phone case, and also on the side of my Tesla screen, I put my phone up there. It is so helpful. Check it out with this footage. I can guarantee if you're on Apple or Android, they have something for you. So if you want to make your setup cleaner and way more efficient, definitely check them out with the link down below, and don't forget to use our code, which is also down below.
Prices falling are a good thing. And, cell phone companies make more money now selling cheap cell phones than they did 20 years ago selling expensive, because they sell more of them and they make it up on volume. So the whole idea that businesses need rising prices is wrong. Consumers don't need rising prices. Everybody wants, if I went to somebody, hey, do you want your kid's college tuition to go up or down? Do you want your gas bill to go up or down? You want your grocery bill to go up or down? Hey, you need to take a vacation. You want the airfare to be cheaper or more expensive? I mean, everybody wants stuff to be cheaper. This is such bullshit that the government needs to make sure that prices go up every year. Why do we need to make sure prices go up? I want prices to go down. That's how standards of living go.
Are they ever going to let prices fall? Because it seems like they want interest rates now down to as close to zero as possible, which would just make prices keep going higher.
Well, they want low interest rates because everybody's got so much debt, especially the government. The government's got more debt than anybody. So they need low interest rates. But the economy needs high interest rates. That is the fundamental problem. The biggest problem with the U.S. economy, underlying it, is not enough savings, not enough capital investment, too much borrowing and consumption and speculation. And that has been a function of low interest rates. Interest rates have been kept artificially low for a long time, and that has screwed up this economy. What we need is higher interest rates that will discourage all this consumption and borrowing, reward people for saving so that we can rebuild our savings and make the investments in the plant and equipment that we need to produce more stuff. But of course, this would also require massive cuts in spending. Not only would families have to spend less, but the government would have to spend a lot less. They'd have to start cutting back on Social Security, on Medicare, on Medicaid, on national defense. Everybody would have to cut spending if interest rates went up. That's why they keep interest rates down. But the only way they can keep interest rates down is by creating inflation. And so inflation is the tax we pay in order to keep interest rates low and government spending high. We get all this inflation. But when they talk about there's an affordability crisis, the reason everything is so unaffordable is because government is so expensive. Every time you buy something, you're paying for government. The cost of government is embedded in every price.
Do you think that there's any malice involved with trying to keep inflation high? Because as people say, inflation really only helps the wealthy, the people that own assets, instead of those who don't. Do you think there's any possible thing going on there?
Well, I don't know that it's malice so much as self-preservation. And these politicians
But you think it's intentional for potentially that reason? Or do you think
they're just trying to kick the can down the road? I mean, they don't want to rain on the parade. They don't, Trump even just recently, even though he talks about housing affordability, he said he doesn't want home prices to come down. Well, isn't that how you make homes affordable? You let the prices go down? He said, no, he doesn't want prices to go down. In fact, he said he wants housing prices to keep going up because he wants the people who own houses to get richer. But what about the people who need to buy them, right? So what does he want to do? Well, let's let them borrow more money. Let them go deeper into debt so that they can overpay for homes, which is asinine. We need to let home prices go down. They never should have gone up as much as they did. The only reason they did it because the Fed had interest rates at zero. The Fed inflated another housing bubble, and Trump wants to make sure the air doesn't come out. But when you have a bubble, the sooner it deflates, the better. The longer it grows, the more damage gets done. Just like with the Bitcoin bubble, it would have been much better had this thing popped years ago. But because it's grown so big, so many more people are going to lose money in Bitcoin. And it's not just the people that lose money buying Bitcoin. Look at all these ridiculous companies that have been created that are going to go bankrupt. Look at all the money we've wasted on these companies, all the resources. I mean, we have really damaged our economy by focusing so much of our capital and our resources in crypto. And a lot of that now is because of the interference of the Trump administration, picking winners and losers, which the government shouldn't do because they pick losers. And that's exactly what Bitcoin is. It's a losing industry. It's not going to survive. All this crypto is a bunch of nonsense. But now you had the government misdirecting capital to it. So everything that we're doing now is all about kicking the can down the road, makes the problems worse, but they hope that they don't blow up until after the election. So it's somebody else's problem.